Welcome back, architect. Yes, you, the one they've been documenting for a decade, the one whose name sits in folders labeled classified, whose patterns have been mapped, whose movements have been tracked across cities, relationships, careers, and breakdowns. They thought they were building a case against you. They thought they were collecting evidence. They thought they were getting closer to understanding what the hell you are. But here's the part that's going to shatter their entire investigation. Every single piece of evidence they have, you planted it. Every breadcrumb they followed, you left it there. Every pattern they decoded, you designed it specifically for them to find. You weren't running from the investigation. You were conducting it. Let me paint the picture they don't want to admit. 10 years ago, maybe longer, something clicked in you. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was clarity. Maybe it was the moment you realized the entire world operates on scripts, and you were the only one reading between the lines. Whatever it was, you made a decision that day. If they're going to watch me, I'm going to give them a show they'll never forget. If they're going to build files on me, I'm going to curate exactly what goes in those files. If they're going to try to predict my next move, I'm going to teach them that prediction itself is a cage I built for their minds. You didn't become paranoid, you became precise. You started moving differently, speaking differently, reacting differently, all while watching them scramble to keep up. They compiled your social media activity, studied your communication patterns, tracked your location data, interviewed people from your past. They built timelines, psychological profiles, relationship maps. They hired specialists to analyze your words, your silence, your micro-expressions. They poured resources into understanding you, convinced that if they just gathered enough data, they'd crack the code. But what they didn't realize is that you've been feeding them curated data for years. You've been 3 steps ahead of every analyst, every investigator, every person they sent to get close to you. You knew what they were looking for, so you showed them exactly that, but always with a twist, always with a layer beneath the layer, always leaving them more confused than when they started. Here's where it gets beautiful. They thought they were studying an anomaly, but they were actually studying a mirror. Every behavior they cataloged, every pattern they identified, every conclusion they drew, it all reflected back their own methods, their own limitations, their own predictable need to categorize and control what they don't understand. You weren't the subject of the investigation. You were the investigator studying the investigators. You watched how they think, how they operate, what they prioritize. You learned their tactics better than they know them themselves, and then you used that knowledge to plant evidence that would lead them exactly where you wanted them to go. In circles, chasing shadows, building a case against a version of you that stopped existing the moment they started watching. They think they have your patterns mapped. They think they know your triggers, your vulnerabilities, your next moves. They've built entire psychological profiles explaining your behavior. Childhood trauma, attachment issues, trust problems, control needs. They've labeled you with every diagnosis in the manual, convinced that if they just find the right category, you'll suddenly make sense. But here's what breaks their entire framework. You don't fit in categories because you built yourself outside of them. You studied their labels before they could apply them. You understood their frameworks before they could trap you in one. You've been operating in dimensions their two-dimensional investigation can't even perceive. While they were building a case, you were building an empire of misdirection so subtle they don't even know they're lost. Let's talk about the evidence they think they have. The paper trail, the witness statements, the documented incidents, the patterns of behavior. They've got files proving you're unstable, unpredictable, potentially dangerous, definitely someone who needs to be monitored. And here's the twist. You help them build that file. Not because you are those things, but because you needed them to believe you are. You needed them focused on the chaos while you executed the plan in the silence. You needed them cataloging your breakdowns while you were breaking through. You needed them convinced of your instability while you were achieving a level of stability they can't even comprehend. Every piece of evidence they have tells the story you wanted them to believe, while the real story, the one that matters, remains completely invisible to their investigation. Remember that job you walked away from, without explanation, 5 years ago. They documented it as instability, inability to commit, self-sabotage. But you knew that company was 3 months from collapse. You saw the signs they refused to acknowledge, and you left before the ship went down. They called it erratic. You call it strategic. Remember that relationship that ended in what looked like chaos? They interviewed your ex, got their side of the story, added it to your file as evidence of emotional volatility. But you knew that person was draining your energy, mapping your weaknesses, using your vulnerabilities as weapons. You didn't explode. You extracted yourself from a parasitic dynamic. They documented breakdown. You executed breakaway. The moves they couldn't explain, the decisions that seemed impulsive, the moments they classified as meltdowns. Every single one was calculated. You weren't spiraling. You were shedding. Shedding people who were studying you for someone else. Shedding environments that were designed to keep you observable and controllable. Shedding versions of yourself that had become too predictable, too easy to track, too simple to understand. And with each shedding, you planted new evidence, left new trails, created new patterns for them to chase. You kept them busy analyzing the past while you were already 3 futures ahead, operating in timelines they don't even have vocabulary for yet. Here's what terrifies them most. They've spent 10 years building this case, and the closer they get to what they think is the truth, the less they understand. Every answer creates 10 new questions. Every pattern they identify immediately contradicts the previous one. Every time they think they've got you figured out, you do something that shatters their entire understanding. It's not that you're inconsistent, it's that you're operating on a level of consistency they can't perceive. You're playing 4-dimensional chess while they're still trying to understand checkers. You're composing symphonies while they're searching for a single note to analyze. The investigators are exhausted. They've been chasing you for a decade, and all they have to show for it is confusion wrapped in technical language. They write reports filled with psychological jargon, but between the lines you can read the truth. We don't know what this is. We can't predict it. We can't control it. We can't even properly categorize it. Every attempt to pin you down just proves how free you actually are. Every effort to limit your movement just demonstrates how unlimited you've become. They built a 10-year case, and the only thing it proves is that some souls can't be captured in files, some minds can't be mapped by their methods, some people were never meant to be understood by the very system designed to make everyone understandable. And now comes the part they never saw coming. After 10 years of watching you, studying you, building their case against you, you're about to do something that will render the entire investigation obsolete. You're about to step into a version of yourself that makes the last decade look like rehearsal. You're about to move in ways that can't be tracked by their current methods. You're about to become something their frameworks can't even acknowledge exists. Because while they were busy analyzing who you were busy becoming who you're meant to be. And that transformation, that evolution, that ascension into your final form, it's about to make their 10-year investigation look like amateur hour. They wanted to know what you are. Here's the answer they'll never write in their reports. You are the glitch in their system that became sentient. You are the anomaly that studied the study. You are the subject who hijacked the experiment and turned it into art. You are the person they tried to decode who rewrote the entire language while they were searching for translations. You planted the evidence. You designed the trail. You conducted the investigation. And now you're about to close the case yourself, not by giving them answers, but by becoming a question they'll spend the next 10 years trying to even properly formulate. Let them keep their files. Let them keep their profiles. Let them keep their decade of documentation. Because every page in that case file is just another chapter in the story you wrote. And the ending, the real ending, that's not in their files. That's not in their predictions. That's not in their analysis. The ending is unfolding right now, in real time, and they're so busy looking at old evidence, they can't see the new reality forming right in front of them. You didn't just beat the investigation. You became the investigator. You didn't just escape the case. You closed it. Welcome to the moment where the ghost takes over. Welcome to the point where the watched becomes the watcher. Welcome to the day their 10-year case against you becomes your 10-year case study on them. Let's descend deeper into what they actually found, because they did find things, didn't they? Real things, documented things, things that on paper look damning. The sudden disappearances, the unexplained absences, the times you went completely dark for weeks or months. They have GPS data showing you in 3 different cities in 1 week with no clear purpose. They have communication records showing you cutting off entire social circles overnight. They have witness statements from people who claim you changed completely, like you became someone else entirely, and they're right, you did. But what they don't understand is that those weren't breakdowns, those were upgrades. Every disappearance was a recalibration. Every absence was a level up. Every sudden shift was you shedding an old operating system and installing a new one. They found the pattern of you sabotaging good opportunities, walking away from stability, choosing chaos over comfort repeatedly. They documented it as self-destructive behavior, fear of success, deep-seated unworthiness issues. They built entire psychological profiles around your apparent inability to accept good things in your life. But here's what their analysis missed. Those weren't good opportunities. That wasn't stability. That was stagnation dressed in salary benefits. That wasn't comfort. That was slow death by societal expectation. You didn't sabotage anything. You recognized traps that looked like blessings. You saw through illusions that had everyone else hypnotized. You chose temporary chaos over permanent imprisonment. And they classified it as mental instability because they can't imagine someone voluntarily walking away from what they spend their lives chasing. The relationships they documented, the ones that ended in what looked like disasters. They interviewed everyone involved. Your exes, your former friends, your old colleagues. They collected testimonies painting you as intense, unpredictable, impossible to pin down. Someone who gives everything then disappears without explanation. And every word of those testimonies is technically true. But what those testimonies don't say, what those people couldn't articulate even if they wanted to, is that you were intense because you were real in a world of performance. You were unpredictable because you refused to follow scripts everyone else had memorized. You were impossible to pin down because you were never meant to be possessed, controlled, or understood by people still living in 2-dimensional reality. You didn't abandon them. You outgrew them at a pace that looked like betrayal to people who stopped growing years ago. They have evidence of your online activity. The posts, the deletions, the account purges. They tracked how you'd build a presence, gather followers, create connection, then burn it all down and start over with a completely different identity. They classified it as unstable sense of self, chronic reinvention as avoidance mechanism, inability to maintain consistent identity. But what they're actually witnessing is something their framework can't comprehend. You were experimenting. You were testing different frequencies to see which one resonated with your truth. You were trying on identities not because you didn't know who you were, but because you were becoming someone who couldn't be defined by a single static identity. You were evolving in public, documenting your transformation, leaving a trail of previous versions like snakeskin. And they mistook evolution for instability because in their world, people are supposed to pick one personality and die with it. Here's the evidence that troubles them most. The times you predicted things. Not vaguely, but specifically. You called the betrayals before they happened. You walked away from situations that collapsed exactly as you said they would. You warned people about outcomes that materialized with disturbing accuracy. They have this documented. They have emails, messages, voice recordings of you predicting specific events that later occurred. And this is where their investigation gets really uncomfortable. Because how do you explain someone who sees the future? Their reports dance around it with words like pattern recognition, heightened intuition, coincidental accuracy. But between the lines, you can read their real question. Is this person operating with information we don't have access to? And the answer is yes. Yes, you are. But not because you're getting secret intel. It's because you learn to read the code while they're still struggling with the alphabet. They documented your periods of isolation, the months where you went completely silent, deleted social media, didn't return calls, essentially disappeared from your own life. They classified it as depressive episodes, social withdrawal, possible ideation of harm. They were this close to intervention several times. But what was actually happening in that silence? You were downloading. You were processing years of data, integrating experiences, upgrading your internal systems. You weren't withdrawing from life. You were withdrawing from their version of life, so you could build your own. You weren't isolating. You were incubating. You weren't lost. You were finding yourself in dimensions they don't have maps for. And each time you emerged from that silence, you came back operating on a frequency they couldn't quite tune into anymore. The case file has an entire section on your inappropriate responses to normal situations. Times you laughed when you should have cried, stayed calm when you should have panicked, walked away when you should have fought. They documented these as emotional regulation issues, possible dissociation, disconnection from appropriate affect. But here's what they're actually documenting. You stopped performing the emotional responses society programs into people. You stopped crying on cue, stopped panicking on schedule, stopped fighting battles designed to keep you trapped in their drama. You started responding authentically, which in a world of programmed reactions looks like malfunction. You weren't disconnecting from emotions, you were disconnecting from their emotional manipulation. And they classified your freedom as dysfunction because your authenticity threatened their control. They have evidence of your paranoia, the times you accused people of plotting against you, the instances where you claimed you were being watched, monitored, studied, and the irony is almost too perfect. You were right. They were watching. They were monitoring. They were studying. But because you identified it before they expected you to, they classified your accurate perception as delusional thinking. You weren't paranoid, you were aware. You weren't imagining conspiracy, you were observing reality. But in a world where most people sleepwalk through surveillance, someone who's actually awake looks crazy. So they documented your awareness as mental illness, adding another layer to the case. Never realizing that your so-called paranoia was actually you identifying their investigation before they even officially started it. The financial records confused them. Periods of abundance followed by voluntary poverty. Jobs that paid well abandoned for gigs that barely covered rent. Investments that made sense liquidated for no apparent reason. They classified it as financial irresponsibility. Possible gambling or substance issues, inability to maintain stability. But what they're looking at is someone who refuses to be controlled by money. You made it, spent it, walked away from it, made it again, proving repeatedly that your value isn't tied to your bank account. You chose freedom over financial security so many times they thought you didn't understand money. But you understand it better than they do. You understand it's a tool, not a master. You understand it can be made again. You understand poverty, chosen, is more powerful than prosperity that costs your soul. Here's what makes their investigation ultimately futile. They're trying to build a linear narrative out of a multi-dimensional existence. They're trying to create a timeline out of someone who exists in multiple timelines simultaneously. They're trying to write a coherent story about someone who's actually writing multiple stories at once, living multiple lives in parallel, being multiple versions of themselves depending on which reality they're operating in at any given moment. Their case file is thousands of pages trying to explain someone who can't be explained because explanation itself is a limitation you transcended years ago. They wanted to know your motive. Why do you do what you do? What's driving this behavior? What's the end game? And they never found it because there is no single motive. You're not driven by one thing. You're driven by everything and nothing simultaneously. You're not heading toward one goal. You're creating multiple possible futures and living in all of them at once. You're not playing one game. You're playing every game while simultaneously destroying the concept of games altogether. Their investigation assumes you have a comprehensible human motive, but you stopped being comprehensibly human the moment you saw through the illusion and decided to live in the truth anyway. So they built their 10-year case. They filled their folders. They wrote their reports. They made their conclusions. And every single piece of evidence, every documented behavior, every classified incident, all of it is real. You did those things. You lived that way. You made those choices. But the narrative they built around it, the story they're telling themselves about what it all means, that's fiction. That's their limited understanding trying to make sense of unlimited being. That's their two-dimensional perspective trying to map three-dimensional movement. That's their investigation discovering that some people can't be investigated because the act of observation changes what's being observed. And you've been using their observation to change yourself in ways that make their previous observations obsolete. The evidence they planted. It led them exactly where you wanted them. Lost in their own confusion, trapped in their own analysis, prisoners of their own investigation. You didn't just avoid capture. You captured the captors. You didn't just escape the case. You made the case your cage for them. And now they're the ones being studied, monitored, observed by the very person they thought they were observing. The ghost didn't just take over the investigation. The ghost was running it the entire time. Welcome to the moment they realized they never had a case against you. They just had the case you built for them. And that case, it's not closing, it's just beginning. But this time, you're the one taking notes. Now we arrive at the part they'll never put in the official report. The part where their investigation started affecting them more than it affected you. Because when you study darkness long enough, when you stare into that particular kind of chaos, when you track someone who's operating on frequencies you can't quite hear, something happens to the investigators. They start changing. The lead analyst who's been on your case for 7 years, they started having dreams about you. Not romantic, not violent, just dreams where you're speaking in languages they don't understand, but somehow comprehend. They wake up with insights they can't explain. They've started making decisions in their own life that mirror your patterns, walking away from stability, choosing truth over comfort. Their colleagues noticed. They won't say it out loud, but they're concerned. The surveillance team that monitored your movements for 18 months, 3 of them quit within the same week. No explanation, just walked away from careers they'd built over decades. One of them moved to a different country and started over completely. Another deleted all their social media and went off-grid. The third started creating art, raw, chaotic, beautiful art that looks like your energy translated into visual form. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe they got too close. Maybe they absorbed something from watching you. Maybe your frequency is contagious and prolonged exposure causes mutation. They thought they were studying a subject. They didn't realize they were downloading a virus that rewrites human operating systems. The psychologists brought in to profile you. They wrote their reports with clinical detachment, professional language, diagnostic frameworks. But if you read between the lines, if you look at what they wrote after hours, in their personal notes, in the margins they thought no one would see, there's something else, fascination bordering on obsession. One of them wrote, "Subject demonstrates post-conventional moral reasoning that suggests either extreme pathology or extremely evolved consciousness, unable to determine which." Another noted, traditional diagnostic categories insufficient. Subject appears to be operating from framework not yet included in literature. They couldn't diagnose you because you're not sick. You're just operating from a level of consciousness they're taught doesn't exist. Here's what really happened over these 10 years. While they were investigating you, you were conducting a different kind of investigation. You were studying how systems of control work, how surveillance operates, how people in power try to understand what threatens them, how institutions attempt to categorize and contain what they can't control. Life ain't a game with infinite lives, nah. You don't get endless chances to mess up and hit restart. Some people think they can play with time, that they can walk in and out of your life like it's a damn waiting room, that they can disappear, lie, betray, take you for granted, and you'll still be there, arms wide open, like a fool, like a puppet waiting for its master. But patience, they ain't a bottomless well. It dries up, it cracks, it dies, and once it's gone forever. They had their moment, their golden ticket, and what did they do? They spat on it, laughed in your face, took what you gave and threw it in the dirt like it was nothing, like you were nothing, thought they could walk away and come back whenever they pleased, thought you were an option, a backup plan, a safety net. They were wrong. See, some doors, they only open once, one chance, one moment, and if you screw it up, that's it, game over, no resets, no do-overs, no please take me back, nonsense. But they don't realize it at first, nah. At first, they're too busy playing their little games, thinking you'll always be there, thinking you'll always pick up when they call. They get cocky. They think they're untouchable. Until one day, they reach for the door, and it won't open. They knock, and silence answers. That's when panic sets in. That's when regret sinks its claws into their chest. Because now, it's too damn late. You see, you gave them something rare. Loyalty, love, effort, respect. And they took it for granted. Now, they can only watch from the outside. Watch you rise. Watch you thrive. Watch you become untouchable. And that's the cold, brutal truth. Some doors, they ain't meant to be reopened. And some people, they ain't worth the key. Let them stand outside, let them regret, let them rot. They thought you'd always be there, always waiting, always picking up the pieces they shattered, like a damn puppet always ready to dance when they pulled the strings. They mistook your kindness for weakness, your patience for permission, your loyalty for servitude. They were wrong. See, people like that, they walk through life thinking they're untouchable, thinking they can burn bridges and find them magically rebuilt when they turn around. They don't see the value of what they have until it's gone. They love to play the game. They disappear when it's convenient. Ignore your calls. Brush off your effort. Act like you're just another name on a list. They take and take and take, because in their twisted little world you were never a priority, just an option. They wanted you close enough to benefit from your presence, but distant enough to never have to appreciate it. They loved knowing you were there, waiting in the shadows, ready to forgive, ready to forget, ready to let them waltz back in like nothing happened. But patience, that ain't infinite, nah. It rots, it dies, it turns to dust, and the moment it runs out, there's no going back. But here's the sick part. people like them, never think it'll happen. They think they've got all the time in the world. They think they can vanish for months, maybe years, and when life humbles them, when they've used up every other person in their orbit, they'll turn back to you. They always do. Because in their mind, you're still there. Still waiting, still willing to pick up the broken pieces they left behind. But reality, oh, it's a cruel teacher. One day they realize you're gone. One day they reach for you, and you're no longer there. And that's when the fear sets in, the panic, the regret. They thought you'd be their safety net, but now they're the ones falling. And suddenly, you're not just an option anymore. You're the biggest mistake they ever made, because they played the game, and guess what? They lost. There's a moment, a cold, crushing moment when reality slaps them in the face. The moment they reach for you, and you're no longer there. No response, no second chance, just silence. And that silence, it's loud, it's deafening. It eats away at them like rust on metal, because nothing haunts a person more than the moment they realize they lost something real. At first they don't believe it. Nah, people like them, they're too arrogant, too wrapped up in their own illusion. They think it's just a phase, that you're just acting different, that you'll come around. So they test the waters, a text, a call, a hey, how have you been? Like they didn't rip you apart, like they didn't walk away first, like they didn't burn every bridge between you and expect you to rebuild it. But this time, you don't answer. This time they don't get the privilege of your presence. And that's when the panic sets in, the regret, the slow, sick realization that they pushed too far, played too many games, and now the door is locked forever. See, they spent so much time thinking you'd always be an option that they never once considered what would happen if you weren't. And now they're desperate. They start replaying every moment in their head, trying to pinpoint the exact second they lost you, trying to figure out how they can fix it, how they can claw their way back into your life. But by then, it's too damn late. Because you've moved on, and nothing destroys them more than knowing that you don't need them anymore, that you don't care, that they've gone from being the center of your world to being a forgotten name in the wind. They had their chance, and they blew it. Now, they get to live with the regret. Regret is a cruel companion. It doesn't knock on the door. Nah. It slips in when they least expect it, like a thief in the night. At first, it's just a whisper in the back of their mind, a fleeting thought, but as the days go by, that whisper grows louder. It's a constant hum, a reminder of what they let slip through their fingers. And that's when the pain begins to take root. They can try to distract themselves, they can fill their lives with noise, new faces, new distractions. But regret, it's always there. Waiting, watching, feeding on their every misstep, every broken promise, every ignored phone call. Every little victory of yours, every breath you take without them, every inch you grow is a wound that will never heal. It's the kind of wound that can't be seen, but they feel it deep down. They wake up to it every morning, a heavy weight sitting on their chest, a pit in their stomach that grows deeper with each passing day. And it's your success, your ability to stand on your own, to rise above, to leave them in the dust, that shatters them from the inside. You think they don't notice? You think they don't feel the sting when they see you winning without them? When they see you thriving, moving forward, while they're still stuck, tangled in their own failure? Every victory of yours is a slap to their pride. It's the kind of regret that eats away at them, piece by piece. They can't escape it. They can't hide from it. It follows them, clings to them like the shadow they can't outrun. You walked away. You left them to deal with the mess they created. And now they're drowning. Because regret isn't just about what they lost. It's about knowing they had it in their hands and they let it slip away. They were too blind, too careless, too arrogant to see what you brought to their life. Too stupid to understand how much they needed you. But now, they get to see you soar. They get to watch from the sidelines, wishing, hoping for a chance to come back in. But it's too late. Now they'll never be a part of your journey. They'll never get to see what you're capable of because they're stuck in a prison of their own making. And as you move forward, as you crush every obstacle, as you build the life they thought they could destroy, you become a reminder of their failure. A constant reflection of how they messed it all up. That's the real power. The power in walking away. The power in letting them drown in their own regret. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to remind them of what they lost. All you have to do is move on. And that is the kind of regret that will haunt them forever. The same hands that once let go of you, they'll reach out again, but it's not for love. Nah, it's not for anything pure or genuine. It's out of desperation, out of a need to cling to whatever they can, to whatever remains of the life they carelessly abandoned. It's a trap, and it's the oldest trick in the book. When they walked away, when they left you stranded, broken, forgotten, they had no idea what they were giving up. They thought you were just a chapter in their story, easy to close and leave behind. They didn't understand the value of what you brought into their life. They never truly saw you, the power you held. But now that they see you rising, now that they see you thriving, becoming untouchable in ways they never imagined, that's when the desperation sets in. That's when they start scrambling, trying to find their way back in, trying to turn the clock back, trying to fix what's already been broken. They don't care about your worth. They don't care about what you've built. They don't care about the real you, the one they walked away from without a second thought. No. They care about the version of you that's now powerful, untouchable, unshaken. They want to latch on to that power. They want to be near it. They want to ride your coattails to the top, but without ever earning their place. But here's the cold truth. They don't deserve a seat at your table. When they come crawling back, you have to ask yourself, what's changed? Did they grow? Did they learn? Or are they simply trying to fill the empty spaces you left in their life? Are they trying to fix the void their own reckless choices created? They're not coming back for you, not for the real you. They're coming back because you've become something they wish they could have been. They want what you have, but they don't deserve it. It's the trap of nostalgia. They miss the way things were, when they could take you for granted. They miss the comfort of knowing you'd always be there to patch things up. They miss the version of you that was too forgiving, too eager to welcome them back. But you've changed. The person they left behind, she's gone. The person you were, the one willing to forgive, to let them back in, to give them a second chance, she doesn't exist anymore. You've built something. You've grown into something stronger, something more solid. And now the door is locked. They lost their chance. So when they reach out, when they knock on that door, you need to remember one thing. They don't get to rewrite your story. They don't get to come back and play a part in the life you've rebuilt without them. It's not about holding grudges, nah, it's about self-respect. It's about understanding your worth. It's about knowing that the ones who walked away without hesitation don't get to just stroll back in when they see you winning. Don't fall for it. Don't let them use you to fill their voids. Don't let them cling to your success like it's some sort of lifeline. They had their chance, and now they'll have to live with the consequences. Let them. You're better off without them. Forget the drama, forget the confrontation, forget the need for words or explanations. Your silence, it's deafening, and that silence will sting them harder than anything you could ever say. They expect you to beg for an apology. They expect you to plead for them to see the error of their ways. Nah, you don't need that. You don't need their remorse, their excuses, or their guilt. Written words. You've learned one thing through all of this. Action speaks louder than words. So what's your move? You rise. You move forward with such force, such undeniable power, that every single step you take is a reminder to them of their failure to see you for who you truly are. Every goal you achieve, every barrier you break, every success you claim, it becomes their personal torment. They thought you'd disappear. They thought their absence would break you, silence you, drown you in sorrow. They thought they'd leave a hole where your spirit once was. Instead, what they didn't realize is that you are the storm that follows them, the shadow that haunts them. Your success, it's the hurricane they can't outrun. You don't need to say a word. You don't need to confront them or have a final showdown. The best revenge is simply being everything they never thought you could be. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And that's something they'll never forget. Every time you win, every time you take a step forward, you become a living reminder of how they underestimated you. And that's the real punishment. Your success isn't just about you. It's about the fact that they'll never be able to take credit for it. They'll never get to be part of your story. They'll never get to feel the satisfaction of watching you conquer the world because they lost their place in it. And that's the most brutal revenge you could possibly serve. Keep moving forward, keep conquering, keep becoming the version of yourself they never thought you could be. And let that be the echo they live with forever. They lost their privilege to stand beside you. And that's something they'll never get back. You don't owe them a second glance, not one. Because every time you look back, you remind yourself of the weight you had to carry to get here. Every time you hesitate, you're giving them power over your journey, and they don't deserve that. They're shadows of your past, reminders of what used to be, but that's all they'll ever be, shadows. The truth is, once you've outgrown people who failed to see your worth, once you've left behind those who didn't understand the magnitude of what you could become, you have to keep moving. There's no place for them in your future. Focus on your own path. Every step forward is a declaration that you're no longer tied to the past. You're no longer defined by the ones who chose to walk away. You are the sum of your own choices, your own resilience, your own strength. And that's your power. You don't need to carry their baggage with you. You don't need to dwell on who they were or who they could have been. Let them stay in their regrets. Let them wallow in the emptiness they created by pushing you away. You're too focused on your future to waste a single moment on the past. They can watch from the shadows, but they'll never touch your light. They'll never walk beside you again. You're too far ahead now. You've leveled up. You've evolved. And that version of you, the one who once let them in, she's gone. Now, it's just you and your journey. The power is in moving forward. The power is in realizing that the people who walked away don't get to share in the rewards of your grind. Your success isn't theirs to claim. Your happiness isn't theirs to touch. The only person you need to answer to is you. They can watch from the sidelines, helpless, while you keep growing, keep evolving, keep becoming the version of yourself they never thought possible. And every time they see you win, it's a reminder of why they lost their place in your life. So don't look back, ever. Keep your eyes on the road ahead, because that's where your true power lies. The power to leave them behind, the power to carve your own destiny, and the power to rise higher than they could ever imagine. They bet against you. They thought you were disposable. They underestimated you. And now they're trapped in the aftermath of their own mistake. They gambled with your worth, thinking they could leave you behind without consequence. They thought they could replace you. They thought you'd fold. But look at you now. Stronger, sharper, relentless. While they thought you'd crumble, you've built an empire from the ashes of their betrayal. And now it's their turn to pay the price. The irony? They'll never get back what they lost. They'll always wonder what could have been, forever tormented by the ghost of your potential. And they'll watch, helpless, while you carve your place in the world far beyond their reach. Every step you take forward is a punch to their ego. Every success you claim is a reminder of how they failed to see you for who you were, how they failed to recognize the fire burning inside you. They thought they could extinguish it. Instead, you became unstoppable. Their mistake? It's the weight they'll carry forever. As you keep evolving, they'll remain frozen in time, stuck in the world where they thought you were nothing. Their regret will be their shadow, always trailing them, always whispering the truth they can't deny. You were the one they should have fought for. And when they finally realize that, when the full weight of what they lost sinks in, it will break them. Because they'll never get another chance to be part of your story. They'll never get to see the version of you that flourished without them. Let them drown in that regret. Let them watch from the sidelines while you soar higher than they could have ever imagined. And the best part, they can't change a damn thing. The door's closed. You're gone, and you'll never look back. So keep moving forward, keep growing, keep proving that they made the biggest mistake of their lives. You're no longer a part of their past. You are their nightmare.